goodness. Hey, goodness. That took a while. Look, I'm Ros Boundy, here for Boomer Press, the Boomer Press Book Nook, as you may have seen from the intro, if you were able to watch the intro. It's one of those things. I've had a techie issue this evening. I had to actually reboot the computer because seized up on me. So there you go. Sometimes it just goes too slow and then stops. And it's probably getting a little old. I don't know. Anyway, my Mac is back. I'm here to present just some tips and ideas and that type of thing for publishing your books. I have to admit that I do prefer to focus on memoir because that's my focus at the moment, is in getting things organised so that I can write my own memoir at some point soon. How long that takes, who knows, because there actually isn't any timeline for it. We can start and we can plod along as we need to, and take what time we do need to take to gather whatever is our inspiration for, putting down those thoughts, writing what we need to. I just feel so... I'm just taking some deep breaths because I don't panic, but I do get a little out of breath trying to get things running smoothly again. And part of that is, if you've been watching what my other episodes have been, it's been using a particular deck of cards with questions. And I've put them in a safe place. I was doing other things and put them somewhere. Well, at the moment, I can't find that deck of cards for the life of me in probably the couple of hours that I've been looking, because I did have to have my tea in the middle of that, and I can't find where they are. Do you know what? Sometimes when you're looking, you don't find because you're looking too hard. I just glanced over there in the other corner of my office. I didn't even think to look. There they are. But that's okay. I've got something a little different planned this time. So we'll get back to those question cards that are from the life interview set or whatever it's called. I can't read it from this distance because it's way over there. I'd have to get out of my chair. And right at the moment, I don't feel like it because I'm comfortable. Are you comfortable yourselves with wanting to write, at least? Even if you feel that it's beyond you, that no one would want to read your story, and that it's something that there's no way, you got no intention of writing a story because you're not important enough or, nothing's happening in your life, you'd be very surprised really at what is possible just from what your thoughts are and how easy. I'm still discovering how easy it is. It's very easy to get distracted along the way because we've got so much of other life things that get in the way. And I know that I've got a huge box of photos there. It is actually quite huge. Because it's got a lot of my mum was the one who was the photographer and loved putting photos together in photo albums. And I've still kept all of those. They are here in that big box. And there's other albums. Not that I was a big photographer myself, I wasn't. But I did take some photos of our family things as you move along in life. And they're going to be mainly the product for my memory with a lot of what I want to put together. So at some point there is going to be a time where I'll start to organise those photos. Now I've got on a big note, sticky notes, how you stick them everywhere so that you want to remind yourself of things. I've got a big one that's in the black texture that tells me every single day that I sit here, don't leave it too late until it is too late, because you just don't know when your time is done. So it's got underlined, start now. That is the intention. make it your intention to start now. So if you do have boxes of photos or albums or that type of thing, certainly get them together and start to sort through. One of the things that I will be doing, and it is using, it's just a camera that's going to be on the phones. I don't need to have it as a professional setup, although I know photos, when you're taking photos of photos, it is better to use decent cameras and the correct lighting and the way that you angle lens and all that sort of stuff. But the phones, the cameras on the mobile phones now do seem to do a reasonably decent job. And I know I've come across a scanner that is supposed to do photos really well. And I suppose it's mainly because what I want to do is to be able to size them in whatever way I need them for the formatting tool I'll use for the books that are going to be created. And that will be, there's certain tools that you can use. It is computer based. Most of what I'm going to be helping people with is computer based. The input. Oh, that's interesting. I can see someone doing a little thumbs up, but I can't see any comments. So I'm not sure if there's any comments going through because I haven't got it monitoring on my phone or the computer at the moment. I can see that I'm live because my Facebook's telling me. Okay. If someone can put a comment in, that'd be great so that I can see that part's actually working. I know I'm going out to 5 Foot Rope TV, and it should be going to my Ros Boundy page, and also that's the Facebook one, and my Ros Boundy YouTube. I've got the 3 spaces it's streaming to. So if you're there on either my Ros Boundy page or the 5 Foot Rope TV, it'd be lovely if you could actually add a comment. And I can at least see that it's, that it's being, interesting. One of the, hold on. It is one of the things with doing live TV, live streaming, is many people have that fear of streaming to no one, that no one's watching. I'm looking at what my eCam is showing me as being, well, there's no live viewers. Well, that's fine. We don't always get that timing right. We don't always have the time to watch a live stream as it is happening. And, these methods that we're using, it is always going to be there. Well, unless we delete them, it's always going to be here to watch as a replay. So that's fine. 2 destinations can source the comments. Yes, it is the Facebook. Yeah, it's the Facebook destinations. It's interesting the YouTube's not. Yep. So, at least that's qualified that. Now, with how we bring our information together and how we start to trigger and get memories happening, photos really are a good way to pick up an item that is static, and it is a photo. I should have probably got a photo or 2 out. I have got some in a drawer over there, but it does trigger some of those memories that we may have forgotten about and bring up what that is in our reflection of the photo, brings up how we may have felt that day. What was the event? Was it a special occasion? Was it something that is going to fit in with what we want as our theme for our memoir? It's got a lot of different variables around it in how we use the photo. I do know that one of the things when you are publishing a book, putting photos in a book, paperback, hardcover, even ebook, can be a bit tricky with cost and also the formatting. So have a view when you're actually getting to that point of you've gone through a lot of photos and you're writing down bits and pieces of your story that might be usable, that you're wanting to use as part of that themed memoir, that try to limit it to what is the essential photos to keep the story flowing, compared to using quite a few because they're really nice sentimental value to you, but really they're not going to be the type of photo that's going to feed the story well. So it's having a little bit of discernment in how you do want your story theme to flow. So I suppose really as you're starting to jot down all those ideas, because we're moving along now rather than just brainstorming and putting any of your thoughts down on paper or in your a word processing document, that you are actually going to start to pull some of it together. And that can be as simple as placing ideas and that in a word processor or that type of, a Word document, a Google document, or something like Scrivener. Now, I wasn't going to show you any of those types of things yet, but I think it probably is at a point where you can start to learn and use a particular product so that it brings that bit of ease into how you are going to write and pull those bits and pieces together. I do have a program that I've purchased that is called Scrivener. It does take a bit of learning, but it's one of those things that if it's something that I can use on your behalf once we've got ideas together to bring it into a file that is yours with the Scrivener to create your book. I'm not as familiar with it as much myself. I mean, I am familiar with it to a degree. I'm not a professional at it. But it's the more that I'm using it, the easier it is becoming. Now, I'm just wondering whether I do need to, whether I should do a screen share of my Scrivener program, which I haven't got opened up at the moment. I'm going to see if it will, give it a go, because I like pressing buttons and giving it a go. Most of you who are here would know that now. So what the heck is that? I've got something that's popping itself over my everything. I have no idea what it is. Some sort of an AI. Don't know. Oh, I think it might be within Scrivener. Now, what I'm wanting to do is open a new file. Let me do a new project so that we can start this. Because what I've got here is something I already have. Let me just go screen share. And at the moment, I'm not sure where I'm at in my, my eCam. Come back. Ah, there it is. Yes, I've got it there. So here we are at the Scrivener screen. I've just shifted it around, so it's actually sharing all of my window. I didn't realise it was doing that. So this is where we start, and we can start with a template or something that is fiction. I'm just going to go straight to a fiction one and do it as a novel or with parts. Okay, so with parts, and it should open that up. Didn't. Oh, I've got to go right down the bottom. That's the thing. I'm just going to do this, call it Memoir Test. Okay. And click the return. It's interesting trying this from two screens. And you can hear me, I think, but not see me. So that's interesting as well. Right. So here we have the template. I'm just going to go over like that because I think you're seeing all my things there in a weird way. And I'm trying to get there and put me... Does it do it that way? Let me see if it pops me up. Oh, yes it does. Cool. There we go. I'm not sure even which camera that is. I think it's this one. Yes, it is. I've got two cameras sitting here so that I've got the right angle. And I can put myself right over the corner, make it smaller. This is pressing the buttons. And I'm going to go like this. Where does that place me? I'm going to put that down. Can I? What does that show? A reasonable back end of it? Because I've got no idea. I'm not seeing a preview screen. Okay, right, so this does give us a template, but what we have with this is being able to actually add parts to chapters. And this is where you would actually see various parts of. So this would be chapter 1 and you'd label it the early years. Although this would be part 1. I would actually call these the parts. And this one you'd then do part 2. The middle years, just as an example. And oh right, I got it. No. Look here. Here's me not looking straight, isn't it? Part 1. The early years, and this one would be chapter 1, so that would then go to being chapter 1. You just call that the 1 to 7 or something like that. Earliest memories, and you'd have the scenes, and this would be the chapter 2 school years, and you'd go on with it that way. And this would be part 2 the adult years, and you'd have chapter 1 or whatever it flows into. This would be chapter 3, for instance, and flow it through, and that could be becoming becoming an adult. And I think that the convention would be to have that as a capital, becoming an adult, and so forth. And this one is really easy to use because what you then have is just a little box down the bottom. You'd add a new chapter. There's a new folder that you would call, so that would be chapter 4, prime years, and etc. So you'd then add, I think you'd actually add one of these, because you can, I don't want folders, silly, and that's where I'd go delete. Oh no. This is where I'm still unsure. Well, you'd get the drift. These are folders. I don't want folders, so I'd go there and trash that there, up there. Oh, and here is where I would add this. And there you would get another scene, and here you would get a scene within it, so that would be whatever is next. And here is where you would place, if you want characters, you'd list them here. If you want places that you remember, you'd list them here. And the thing that I really love about this is having the folders that you can actually put samples in over here in the right hand side, in there, of pictures and reference material and website links and all of that type of thing. So this is where it can be all pulled together and create your book. And then it can be seen in, in a pin board mode. Whoops, I've got to have it like there, or even there, I think. So there you can see that you'd get the parts and the chapters and all sorts of different things. When I've got something that I can show you, we'll certainly go through that type of thing for future sessions. Okay, so Now, back to me. That program itself is only one of a type. There's many others that you can actually bring together. Oh, I forgot, I've got the 2 cameras in now. I don't need that one. Oh, how funny is that? Sorry. So that's part of what we can, it's that type of thing that we can use to help you gather together all of your details and write, what notes and files you may have created on a Word doc or something like that, that we can import and put it together as a book and then have it formatted and formatted and put a cover on it and create a book, obviously. So that's only a very brief and very rough description of how that works. It is a great tool. It's only one of very many types of that type of tool. There's others that I use that can be helpful, and especially now with some of the artificial intelligence, the AI tools that are around, not to do the writing, but to help tidy up some of it so that it can suggest research areas as well, because that's one of the beauties. It's like a search engine with the AI at the moment, the way they're developing, that you can treat them almost like a search engine to get the resources that you might have missed in what you've not got, as far as your story. But you know that it was somewhere in those days of when you lived through it, that there might be news articles and things like that in print matter that you don't have, but it can be accessible via the web, of course, internet. And there's tools that can be used to do that sort of research and bring it out to a fuller story and really get your story coming alive. That's if it's more the memoir style of story that you're wanting. As from what you would have seen just there with the Scrivener, I mean, it can do fiction books. That was it was the fiction layout that I chose, but certainly there's another non-fiction style that is more formal that could be done like, a history and that type of thing. Now, sorry about that. Because I couldn't find that deck of cards, in part of the looking for what I was wanting to do, I came across some examples of old books that are like little histories and that in my shelf, in the bookshelf. And I thought, well, it's probably a good idea to show some of you the way that they've been done before. And now I might switch over to this one and swap us out. It just gives a slightly different angle. Then I can be closer to, oh God, I do look too close on that one, don't I? Just let me try and zoom that out a bit. Oh, I can't. Okay, I can't. It's close to me, so I'm just going to have to stretch my arm a little bit. So some of the books that are around that have been in, sorry, hang on a sec. Hang on. Where am I getting this? There, I wanted to add that, but I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so some of these books I found in my shelf that have been written and compiled by friends. Now, Lita is a friend. You can see it's an old book. It's one of the proof copies that was given to, I think Dad had it as, to do as a proof copy, which is, what that means is that you read through it before it actually gets the final printing happening. And I'm not too sure if it is or not. Well, it is definitely Dad's because it's got Dad and Mum's name when they were at Narang Road at Meningie. So I thought, well, I'd just share a couple of these examples, and these were the types and ways that they were bound at the time. Now, things have changed quite a lot with the way that books are done. They may still be able to be bound in this way. It's been a long time since I actually helped Dad do the John and Pat story. And it's funny thing, I think those books are still in a box out in the shed. I haven't unpacked them because I couldn't find those in the shelf either. So some of the others that I was able to find with that type of binding, I think it's a lovely way to do small short stories. The Cry of the Coorong by Rob England, Native Plants of York Peninsula, because that's where we came from. So these are books left from my dad's days. This one I found very interesting as a hard copy. I'm just going to put them on the floor now that I've finished showing you. So as a hard copy, I haven't seen too many these days that have the dust covers. They're $5.50 back in 1974. And a plain hard cover on it that's just the text. Dad didn't have a dust cover on his. It was just the plain John and Pat story as the title, and no dust cover. So there's many different ways that you can create the books, this via what is the traditional publishing of a press. I don't know how many there are that are local. It's going to be something that I'll do a search on if you so desire. Many of the publishing houses now at publishing spaces and places, Amazon being one, print on demand. There are others. So there's Lulu, there is Draft to Digital, Ingram Press, Thorpe. There's quite a few. So here's one that's from the more local one of where we lived at Canalpin, and that ended up being the...
Sharon Bregner, FaceTime video.
Sorry. That ended up being... I should tell my friends, please remember I'm live 7:30 to 8:30 on a Sunday evening. So anyway... this one ended up being the Uniting Church at Canalpin. So all of these are what has been passed printings and experiences from people who I know. Now this here, and because they come from my dad's stock, this here is the Newbold family that is one that I actually have some relationship to and within. When I find and unpack the box that's got the books in it that has the Poynton family and the Boundy family books, I'll be able to show you examples of those. And this one is very plainly typed, just on A4 size that's been formatted into what is the A5. I presume it's A5, I haven't measured it, but it's that style of book printing done on typewriter, the old-fashioned way, with photos in here about the right times, and it's done as a the history, like a genealogy. So this one does go through in this way. Now it might be something that you are wanting to do more a genealogy history book for your family, and it is possible. There are actually programs now that can help with this and the proper numbering with this. My uncle has done one that I'll probably get out of the chair and show you, because I've just remembered where I saw that as I was moving through looking for these books. So this one is more just the genealogy and the names, but it does have some of those. I love them because it's something that we don't have written down very often, and I don't know if there's a chronology, an index in the back as to where our names might be, but I do know that the Boundies and Newbolds have some relationship somewhere, and probably why we have that book. If you just let me go and get this one. So here we go. Here's one of the books that is from my uncle. Dean Boundy, he wrote this one, and it is the sorry, I've got some of the cards sitting there. That's a different deck. So he'd written this one, 150 years on John and Maria Boundy. If you can see that, I haven't got the camera tall enough. So this one's done in a similar fashion as you saw the New Bold book, but it's done with more of the story of each of the families who are in this. So I know myself that I presume that I'm in here somewhere. It's not something I've actually read from front cover to back because I haven't, and it would have been a long time ago that I would have actually looked up where we are in it. But as you can tell with any of these, it's got that numbering system, and it is a genealogy technique for ancestry and stuff like that, the way that these are done with that start number of who you have at that initial pair partnering. Now this has some of that story. So here it is. We do have the John Boundy at the front, at the top, and my dad's name was John Boundy, but he was whatever number in line as far as these go. And as you can see, this John Boundy was born in 1793, if it focuses. Does it focus? Let's have a look. Oh, not too well. So that's the way of doing them as a genealogy. That might be something that you'd be interested in having it more this way as a genealogy or not. So we do have a lot of people here, and this is, I have a funny feeling, yep, this is an Auntie Fanny who I remember visiting when she was in a nursing home, and she wasn't very well, but she made 99 years and she got a cold, and that's what caused her demise. It was the cold that killed her just before she turned 100 by, like we see here, February 72, born in April 1873. So she was 2 months off being 100, and it was the cold that killed her. So that's that one that my uncle wrote. And this one here is the book that my auntie wrote, Elizabeth Boundy, who is Uncle Dean's wife, of course. And this is probably, I haven't actually read this one at all, but I do know it's probably done in the same fashion, which it is, and it goes into the details of the people. They are wonderful books in the way that we can look up specific people and have sometimes a little bit of story about them that we can then go and have a look, see, and find out further details if we so wish to. And these would have a really good index in them, like as you can see, just the names that are here. Wonderful, isn't it? So good. Now, that's one way of presenting your your life as part of what is a genealogy. So it's really interesting when you start to get into some of the stories that others in the family have, and you're not really sure. You can sometimes find out details from various books like this because there's so much hearsay in how stories are passed on in our families, isn't there, that haven't had the proof of factual evidence. So, now I'll swap that around because I missed that. Now I'm going to switch buttons again. Take that one off, and it's back to me. Here. There we go. It can be a bit of a trial and error with pressing all the buttons. Now, I decided too that here's one that is a bit of an, the books that are about a town. Now, Narung Alpha is one that was written, Old Tales and New. as a bit of an anthology. Like, it's just got little bits and pieces of tales. I love the, even though it's hard to see because it's hard to fold that back. Cute little illustration there. And that's because Narang was on the peninsula that was where Raucan is today. It was started as a community area that was called Point Macleay by missionaries way back. And a very beautiful piece of land out there. It's lovely. I'd picked one in here that I thought, oh God, now I can't find it. I've just closed it. I was going to read a little snippet from this one. There it is. So, and it's around the fact that we sometimes do feel, you know, you might still be feeling that your story isn't big enough or important enough and no one would want to read it or listen to it. But this one is Hector's story that I'm reading from this book. And Old Man of the Lake. This is in the environment of Menengi, Narang, Lake Albert, Lake Alexandrina. Narang was on that peninsula that that was that bit of a gap between both lakes, that area that had the Narrows. The Narrows is what it is still called. The Narrows went between Lake Alexandrina and into Lake Albert. Lake Albert goes nowhere. It is just that lake. Lake Alexandrina goes through the Murray, through to the River Murray mouth, both ends of the River Murray. The River Murray goes into Lake Alexandrina that goes around Galway and out through the Murray mouth. It is part of the River Murray. Both lakes are. So that's the where it is, and you know, the interesting characters. So I'll just read part of this. Occasionally, this is Hector's story, right? Occasionally one meets a seemingly ordinary person who reveals in conversation that he or she is exceptionally extraordinarily. Oh God, I can't even read. When you see how tight the typing is in this, it's not surprising. So occasionally one meets a seemingly ordinary person who reveals in conversation that he or she is exceptionally extraordinary. Such a one is Hector Samanchko, who at the age of 81 lives in his boat at Galway when he's not hunting foxes at Narang, kangaroos on Clare or Frome Downs Station, or wild goats elsewhere. Hector's memory spans at least 74 years very clearly, as he remembers seeing porpoises in the River Murray at Tailem Bend in 1914. Before the barrages, fishing in Lake Alexandrina was very much different. Mulloway were caught near Manham. Congolly, a freshwater fish which is rarely seen now, swam downriver to spawn near the Murray mouth, and the young ones would then return to the river. This is no longer possible. Congolly bait tied to long lines thrown out into the breakers never failed to tempt the Mulloway. The Coorong mullet were different. They came into the lakes to spawn. Hector's knowledge of the lakes is incredible. He says a sandbar known as the crayfish banks from the time yabbies were very plentiful. Extends in a line from Pomander Island almost to Point Macleay. The big flat underwater plain in front of the Poltalloch homestead would, he predicts, be strewn with logs brought down by the many floods. Some of the many exercises on which Hector has been employed throughout his life on the lakes and river include towing ferries up and down river. He drove the 104 massive pylons from Galway to the entrance of the river into the lake, marking the safe passage for boats. Many old posts and logs have been removed since the barrages inundated numerous paddocks adjacent to the lake and narrows. Farmers could graze stock on the dozens of islands near the narrows, so their fences extended well beyond the boundaries of their farms to include their miscellaneous leases. Hector has also been required to help with rescues on the lake of people much less skilled than this old boatman. Perhaps one of his most important achievements was the salvaging of the tug Moree, which ran aground on the ocean beach a little further north than the spot opposite Mark's Point on the Coorong. The tug's last port of call was Portland, where the crew had waited for a storm to subside. They then headed for Whyalla, but navigation went astray, and next thing the Moree was beached. It did go astray. Another tug was sent from Adelaide, while men on the shore erected 2 high poles on sand dunes. Oh, goodness. Goodness, goodness. Oh. Apologies. I don't know. I think someone's trying to ring me. I'm trying to ignore it. Oh dear. Another tug was sent from Adelaide, while men on the shore erected 2 high poles on sand dunes. A rope between these poles was to be hooked by a light. I'm just dropping the phone so you can't hear him. A rope between these 2 poles was to be hooked by a light plane and dropped on the rescuing tug. A wire from that tug was then to be attached to the helpless tug, so a tow line could be established. My goodness, what an event. Anyone who knows the power of the Southern Ocean constantly dashing millions of gallons against the shore and the strength of the undertow as the water returns will know the problem the seamen faced. After several abortive attempts, the tug was abandoned. All of those stories, that's just one in an anthology. So tonight I have covered just a few different examples of types of books that can be written, as far as the style of how they can be printed up and made into the books. I've shown you the Scrivener just as an example. I probably will take you through some others, but most of those you don't even have to use yourself. It's something that I'm becoming more and more familiar with using these programs because I like the buttons and doing the typing and all of this type of printing and, production, making it happen for you. But it's you who needs to be putting down your thoughts first. So don't leave it too late until it is too late. Start doing it now and give me a call when you can of what area, so that we can talk about what area you need to be looking at, how I can help you. Now, I'm just putting that in the comments now, a link to booking an online consult with me. I'm hoping it goes to the 5-foot rope. Yes, it is. Let me know if that doesn't work and we'll work out a different way of connecting. Thank you so much for joining me and watching the replay. We'll see you on Monday night, 5:30. Bye for now.